So contract and hiring management is where we define how we do the hiring in our system. Now there are multiple ways of doing that. First thing I want to point out is that there is no need for you to work with contracts or employment agreements if you do not normally do that in your business. In that case, all you're going to follow is what we call the quick hire model. And right here, there's a quick hire screen, which in fact on its own is also configurable. And I'll show you where we do the setup for that. You notice here we can choose a country of employment. We can choose what kind of data should be requested during the quick hire process. And I'm going to keep this as simple as possible and just go and do a quick hire on the spot. So right here, we're going to hire Jackie Peterson. And we will keep this relatively simple. You notice, by the way, that the form will modify based on the country that you choose. You can have provinces if you're in Canada and postal codes, whereas if your employees are in the US, you will have states and you will have zip codes typically. So we're going to go ahead and choose the details here. If we turn on the geocoding, the system will go based on the zip code and will find your exact location that way, and that will apply the taxes if we're using your tax rules. In my case, I'm going to hire an accountant under accounts payable. I'm going to have her hired as full-time, have a report to Barbara, and start off on the 1st of April. I have international date format turned on right now. Everything here goes based on the configuration of the system that has already been done. I want it to look the way it looks, otherwise it wouldn't be there. We'll quickly add a picture also. And then all we need to do here, because this is a pay group that is monthly, this employee group, I'm going to put in a salary of $4,500. And my system has automatically flagged all these other earnings, allowances, benefits, bonuses, commissions, and so on, based on the setup that I have in there. Everything is simply done based on what it is that I need. Now I'm adding this new hire. And now the new hire has been added. That's all it took for me to do that. Now, another way to do it would be to work with employment contracts. That means we take a few extra steps. I'll show you an example. We'll hire Emily Peterson right now. And we'll give her a picture too. We will choose to hire her in accounts receivable. I'm going to ignore a lot of things here which I may otherwise want to fill in, but I don't have time for that. And I'm going to add the primary job. In Interact, an employee can hold more than one job, so therefore you have the ability to handle this the way you want. Now I'm going to add a job title. Position budgeting has not been turned on, so this field does not have a drop down. Here's the assignment date. We're going to hire as of the 1st of April. If the employee group will be administrative staff, and my system is loading all the associated rules that apply to somebody that belongs to that pay group. I am also going to assign Barbara as the supervisor. And here we have the contract details. There are different contract types that I have defined in the system already. And based on that, I can choose one of them, which is available for this particular job title. And the system knows that this is a 24-month contract default. So it's going to end the 31st of March 2019. I'm going to start off the probation period like this too. And all I need to do here is to choose the salary. In my case, it's a monthly salary because I have set up a particular pay group that has a monthly salary. And I will just go ahead and add the job. Now the system will take care of earnings, allowances, bonuses, commissions, and so on. If I wanted to, I could now go and modify and take out any of these particular compensation elements which have been assigned based on standard policy. I could go in here and remove a particular house rent allowance, for example. The only reason it's there is because my configuration and my setup and my rules have been configured to provide this type of allowance to an employee in that pay group. But there might be an exception, so I'm removing that. I can modify the amount also. I can add something that was not there before. You can do whatever it needs to be done. So based on your contract templates, you will find a nice little document that will be basically a mail merge showing that you're going to be hired as an accountant in the accounts receivable department and so on. And I will go ahead and add this particular contract now. After this, there's another approval. Depending on the logic that we have defined, depending on the workflow that is in place. And we have one final step, because this could have been done through a recruitment module, in which case the applicant who came and applied for this position would need to accept that employment contract. In my case, I'm going to accept it on her behalf right now. So you see we have a new employee in the system. This one has a 24-month contract period. The other one does not have a particular contract period, is at-will employment. Both employees are in the system now. If I go and look for Peterson, you'll find that we have Emily and Jackie in here. Okay, now let me show you a few more items related to these contracts. You see, everything is configurable. I have gotten this list earlier, the drop-down list, because I have set it up like that, and I've chosen to define specific contract types for particular employee groups or pay groups. I could have different types of contracts for different jobs in the organization, for different nationalities. Why? Because you may have particular benefits that apply to certain categories only for legal or other reasons. So everything is configurable. So the employment contract templates are also flexible, obviously. Let's take a look at one of those. So this is the contract, employment contract is the one that's associated with that one contract template that I just listed. And here you see that you have a template builder where you can basically work out your merge of particular fields with that will appear in the contract template that you're going to be using. Everything is, it could be multilingual, everything is user defined, as you can see. So basically you define the types of contracts you have, who they apply to, and what their standard length is, etc. You define the templates that you're going to be using, and after that the contract and hiring module is the tool that you're going to use to put new employees in the system, to have the system apply the correct leave and payroll policies to these employees. And you then have the ability to modify anything that you want to. Let's take a look really quick at that new hire that we just put in here. We'll look at Emily Peterson. So this is Emily's employee record. It includes her job details. If I get into the detail, it'll show me exactly her allowances, earnings, bonuses, commissions. It also shows me the leave policies that apply to her. All of this was done automatically, and the holidays that apply to her, and so on. This is done automatically based on the settings that we have in the system in the compensation module. Everything is integrated. There is no separate system, and there's only one set of employees. So once you've hired this employee and the payroll status here is set to active, which has been done automatically because of my workflow settings that I set up, then that means that I can now start initiating payroll for this employee. There is no need for any separate data entry to be done by the payroll team. There is one hiring module which puts the new employees in the system, and from here on out all the other modules take over. One last area to look at to understand the capabilities of the contracting and hiring management is that you can define the manner in which you hire people in the system. Again, to be clear, you could have done the quick hiring that we went through earlier, or you could have done the hiring through an agreement or contract. That all depends on what your needs are. In fact, you can have different manners for different employee or pay groups. Here is some of the setup. Without getting into all the details, you notice that here's where we choose what are the default contract periods, what's the default template that you want to use, how do you number these things, do you allow rehiring of employees, and if you do, will you reuse the same employee ID that you had in the past? Do you want to go through an acceptance of the contract the way I did this manually, or do you want to have it accepted either by the applicant or automatically? And here you have other items. The reason why my payroll status was active immediately was because I flagged this one that says activate payroll status upon contract approval. If you don't do that, that means somebody has to manually activate the payroll status. So this would be an additional layer of security if you wanted that. There's a lot of other things here that I can do. This allows me to define some of the behavior around the main employee profile. Who can edit it, who can access it, how do you create it, who are the hiring officers that will be involved in contract and hiring, what are the contract types, how do you handle amendments, and so on. There's a lot of detail here. Who needs to be notified, what are the fields that appear on the employee profile. You see, all of these fields are in fact user defined. You can have them in different languages. You can modify the caption, you can make it mandatory or optional, and so on. And there are literally more than 1,000 fields here that may or may not be used. Why? Because this product it's used around the world, so we can choose, pick and choose, and we have a lot of predefined fields here. So there's no need for customization to handle these things. This is all pure configuration. When you set up a system for your particular needs, that's when we will choose what other information goes in here. So that's the beauty of the configurability of Interact HRMS and how all these modules are tightly integrated.